Hello and welcome to this episode of the Business Spotlight. I'm excited to introduce Beth, who's going to be joining us today. Hello, Beth.
Hello there. Thank you, Mark, for inviting me along.
You're more than welcome. So
Yeah.
really excited to find out a bit more about you and a bit more about your company, Beth. So for our viewers today, if you've not seen us before, the goal of the Business Spotlight is for us to learn a little bit about you and your business, Beth, and for it to inspire the people that are watching the show today and thinking about getting started in business and maybe even an entrepreneurship journey. So, Beth, if you could just kick things off for us by telling us who you are, what you do, and how long you've been doing it for.
Okay, so my name is Beth Foley. My company is called Balancing Emotions. This is my second company because my first one was called Both Feet First, which I started off about 26, 27 years ago now. But I've now decided to come away from some of those things and just focus more on the energy side of my work, which is what I do, which is literally, as it says in the title, Balancing Emotions. So I've been doing it for about 26 years now. I'm one of Dr. Bradley Nelson's practitioners. Dr. Bradley wrote this book called The Emotion Code, which if you need a present for someone, I always suggest buy a copy of The Emotion Code. You won't regret it because everything starts with emotions. So a little bit about me and a little bit about my background. I used to be in banking, so I never thought I'd be doing what I'm doing now. But due to health problems with the complication with my daughter and then with my son, I ended up going into complementary health. And this is where the balancing emotions came from. I discovered very soon that everything is made of energy and that you can actually manipulate energy yourself and change it for the good. And whether it's an illness or whether it's a personality trait, it can all be changed. Does that, if that makes sense? Yeah.
Yeah, that does. That's fantastic. So,
So,
sorry, carry on.
so I call myself an energy director. Because what I do is when I'm working with a client is I'm looking at their energy to see what direction they need to go in, to see if there's any blocks, whether it's financial blocks, whether it's health blocks, whether it's relationship blocks. And we look then to see what needs to be clear because sometimes it's not always obvious. And something can be as simple as changing the name of your business, or just changing a font on your website that can make a huge difference or to who you're trying to attract in a business. So I'm going to tell you a little story that always fascinates me is years ago, if you think of someone that makes you who's angry and you think of that person and you go, oh, that guy, whenever I see him, he's always angry. Yeah. And you go, well, let's call him Joe. So he's always angry, Joe. And the first time you see Joe, you say, Joe, what's the matter? He says, oh, this happened to me yesterday. And you go, oh, it's terrible, Joe. And because then the next week you see Joe and Joe's still angry. And you go, Joe, what's wrong? And he says, this thing that happened last week. And you're thinking, well, it was last week. So then a month passes and you see Joe and he's still angry. And you're going, Joe, what's happening? And he says, oh, this thing that happened a month ago. And this goes on and on and on. So a year down the line, you see Joe and he's still griping on about something that happened a year ago, but now he can't even remember what it is. Okay. And so this is what we call a trapped emotion, whereby for some reason in your body can't process or let it go. So it holds on to it. And to the average Joe, we call that stress, holding on to stress. And you might think to yourself that you're not a stressful person or you don't get stressed easily, but your body holds on to it. Yeah. And when the body holds on to it, we start to, go from healthy to the words, at ease to disease, and things start to happen. So if you are suddenly overworked and you're carrying all these stresses, you start to make mistakes, whether it's you're driving a car and suddenly you don't see that tree that's there, you hit the tree, or you just get really tired that you forget you miss the alarm clock in the morning, and so on and so forth. So all these things are all energy. So what I do is I have a look at the individual and I find out what's going on and then get rid of it. Basically, it's as simple as that.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I mean, this is so interesting, and there's quite a few sort of different types of remedies for this sort of thing. I mean, what makes you different from others that do something sort of similar to what you're doing here, Beth?
I suppose what makes me different is that I teach people that you can do it, and anyone can do it. It's not, there's no secret. We're all energetic beings. We can all do this. I teach children to do this. Um, if you don't trust yourself enough to be able to do it, you can get yourself a magnet, a fridge magnet, and it just works as well with a fridge magnet. And people say,
Wow.
"What do you mean?" And I say, "Well, we are energetic beings, so you can see that's my hand. And if we were to take a microscope and turn that on my hand and turn it up, it looks like craters on the moon. If we turn it up even more, eventually it becomes 99.999% space." Okay, so what we are is we are energy. So everything is a disruption of our energy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we are electromagnetic. That's what we are.
Yeah.
We are electromagnetic beings. So if we have something stuck in us, we can use a magnet to release it. But we don't actually need a physical magnet. But some people like it because they like a little tool and it makes them feel better. That's great. But
Yeah.
we are electromagnetic ourselves. So I'm a great believer in that if your body creates an illness, the body can overcome the illness because it's allowed it to happen in the first place. So it's just allowing yourself to trust that enough and that process enough to clear it.
Yeah.
And of course, we have these triggers, and that's the thing. We can listen to a piece of music from our childhood, and that piece of music might remind us of a lovely time, or when your dad came home and hit you with a slipper. And all those things will then have an effect on you.
Yeah.
So what I do is I go in and I don't take it out completely, but what I do is I make it so it doesn't have an impact on you that's going to be negative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so powerful. That is so powerful. So, I mean, you say you've been doing this for 26 years. So, I mean, you must have had an amazing journey so far. I mean, just
Yeah.
give us some sort of highlight reels
Well, well,
from going
some
on.
well, one of my favourite stories, obviously, is going to be my lady that couldn't be pregnant. She had no eggs left. Adam Brooks said, "No eggs left, can't be pregnant, can't have IVF." And I said to her, "Let's work together and let's just shift some energy." And then within 6 weeks, she was pregnant. You know, and I said to Adam Brooks at the time, because they said, "How can this be?" She had no eggs left, and I said, "What we did was that's just." You say there's no eggs, but we've created more eggs. Who's to say we can't do that? And the little girl's probably about 13 now, I think, at least.
Wow.
My favourite work was my dad. My dad had a major stroke. They said he'd never walk again, never talk, never drive. And he'd been in hospital for a very long time. 11 days working with my dad, out of hospital, completely recovered, driving, speaking, back to normal. So that was another one of my things that I love. My mother, she had lymphoma cancer, and she didn't want to go under the knife. So I said, well, let's just clear all the trapped emotions. Let's just see, if there's pathogens we can clear. Let's just go for it. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. And touch wood, that's now again, she's that's 17 years ago now. So it just shows you by literally clearing stuff, the impact it can have. It's quite incredible, you know. And if I had a penny for everyone that comes to me and says, I'm taking these antidepressants, but they're not working, and I go, well, because it's not yours. And they go, what do you mean? I say, you're carrying the trapped emotion of depression that was your great grandmother's. If we clear it from you and clear it down the line, then it's gone. You won't need to take a pill because it's gone. And it's as simple as that. And that's why I said, even if you just read the book,
Yeah.
it's incredible because it teaches you in there how to do it. A little boy of 7 decided to, just clear some trapped emotions from himself because he was scared of water, and everyone was going in the swimming pool and he wanted to go in, but he was scared. And so he cleared some trapped emotions from himself. The next thing you know, he's in the pool and he's swimming completely over his fear.
That is amazing. So you taught this 7-year-old boy how to
No,
do.
I didn't, Brad. This this
Okay.
no, this boy just picked the book up. No, nobody taught him. He just picked the book up and read it. No, no,
Wow.
no. Yeah, I mean, it's powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Really powerful stuff. I mean, I've just come back from Las Vegas, where I did I'm a grade 3 practitioner of Brad's, and we did the belief code. And it's amazing that how you can hold on to beliefs that aren't even yours, especially if they're ancestral. And people often get a little bit confused when we talk about ancestral. We're not talking about inherited, we're talking about ancestral, which is a clump of people. So we could say ancestors could be like all the Vikings, or the Romans, or it could be a period in time, and it will be a collective energy that gets in there that makes people have this energy that they think, oh, you know, I can't be as successful, or I can't be that. And then once you clear it, it's amazing the impact it has.
Wow, that is amazing. So, I mean, what have you got planned for the future? I mean, where are you going with this? Where are you
Well,
taking it? What challenges have you got coming
yeah,
up?
well, this year's a great year for me, because this is 2024. 24 is the year of change and transformation. I get that from the numbers. We take the two and the 4, that comes up to an 8. And 8 is the color of magenta. If you look in astrology and things like that, and 8 is all about transformation and change. So this year, I thought, right, okay, I've been kind of putting it off and putting it off. So I've now taken the plunge, and I've started my YouTube channel. I've started doing monthly Zoom calls to help people with transformation, because it's something I really am very, very keen on. And we started off last month with procrastination, and this month in February we are clearing and boundaries, because lots of people don't have good boundaries or healthy boundaries.
Yep.
So we'll be clearing that energetically, so that people can then make those boundaries for themselves that are solid, that are healthy, that are doable, without having to, you know, go too much to task on it.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, so that's what I'm doing, and obviously getting more out there so that people can see me. I've made lots of videos in the past, and I do lots of training, but never really on a local level. It's usually worldwide. I'm more popular in the States and Canada than I am in UK, but that's fine. I quite enjoy it, but it would be nice to help people locally and
Yeah.
support her, you
No,
know.
that's fantastic. That's brilliant. So moving on to yourself then, I mean, as like a business owner, what would you say has been the biggest lesson that you've learned today?
The biggest lesson is to trust myself more, I suppose, and not be you know, discouraged by people that don't share the same ideas or the same views or the same values, because there's no point if somebody doesn't understand what you're doing, or they just don't get it, or they're a bit skeptical.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's okay. It's allowed. If it's not congruent to the person, it's fine. We're not all horsey people. So,
Yeah.
you know, if somebody's not, you can't force them to be.
Yeah.
Neither should you. So that would be my first thing to say, is that, you know, in any business and starting off with anything, you've got to believe in yourself, and not expect anybody else to believe in you first. Believe in yourself first, because if you do that, then other people will believe in you.
Yeah.
And I think that is a real key thing. I had a young fella come to me many years ago, and he was sent to me because he had addictions to drugs and alcohol, and his mum was very upset with him, and he was only about 23. And when we talked through everything, one of the things that was quite apparent was that he just felt like he couldn't achieve anything. He didn't have a job. And I said to him, so what do you really want to do? And he said, well, I want to be an electrician. I said, well, why aren't you? And he said, I'm not bright enough. And I said, what do you mean you're not bright enough? I said, if you want to do something, you can learn it. And so we went through things, and I'm glad to say this is a long time ago now. He is a qualified electrician and living his dream.
Wow.
But it just shows you, if you believe something, you can literally stop it dead in its tracks.
Yeah.
You know, and when I'm teaching, I always say to people, remember, we are so powerful. We're powerful beyond measure with what we think. And we have so many thoughts a day. And it's a bit like that, mustn't hit that tree, mustn't hit that, and you hit that tree, you
Yeah.
know. So whatever you put out there is what is going to come and bite you on the, you know. So
Yeah.
put only good thoughts out there,
Yeah.
and surround yourself with people who heighten your vibe. You
Absolutely. Yeah.
know,
Can agree more with that.
Yeah, and in order to make a change, you have to change. If you get out of the same side of bed every day and you check your phone every day and you do the same things every day, why would it be different? You have to show up and make a change.
Yeah, exactly that. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Who was it who said, be the change you want to see? I think it was
Yeah,
Gandhi.
Gandhi, absolutely,
Yeah,
definitely, and
absolutely.
so
So,
true.
Beth, this is really, really great stuff. So, thank you so much for sharing. It's really good. And I'm sure that the viewers today are going to be getting a lot out of this too. So, if you will, humor me here. We're going to go back in time now.
Yeah,
So, we're going to go back in time and we're going to visit an 18-year-old you.
yeah.
And you're going to give yourself the one singular best piece of advice that you can possibly give yourself with the knowledge that you've got now, but going back to an 18-year-old you. What would it be?
I was at 18, I would say, believe in yourself. Don't give up on your dreams. If you want something, it's theirs, it's yours for the taking. Because if you want something bad enough, you will achieve it. Because it comes easy to you if you really love something. you know you've only got to see those programs, Bake Off, and if they really love cooking, they're going to do it. They're going to achieve that goal. So I would say, and one thing I always say is, out of every obstacle becomes a challenge, and every challenge becomes an opportunity, and every opportunity allows you to grow. And so, always try something. Thomas Edison is one of my biggest heroes. He said, I think it took him so many attempts to make a light bulb. And when he was asked, 1,000 times you've done it and you'd failed 1,000 times, he said, no, each time I learned something different each time. So the key thing is not to give up,
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Yeah, no, that's really powerful. Um,
Yeah.
that is so, so powerful. So, what is it that inspires you then, Beth, that, to do what you do on a daily basis and to continue to do what you do? What is it that really, truly
Well, I've
inspires you?
always been a bit of a motivator, if I'm honest, to be fair. Even when I worked in the banks and banking, that was one of my things, was to motivate all the teams and to get the people to sell the mortgages and whatnot. But for me, what motivates me in doing the health thing was when I had my daughter. I nearly died having her 26 years ago. And so I had to then decide to change my career, and that's when I became a reflexologist, hence the company Both Feet First. But I wasn't happy. So, I needed something more. And then, of course, I then couldn't be pregnant after having my daughter. And I started helping people get pregnant. And so I thought, well, I better do this to myself, you know. So along came my little boy. And at the time, I was told that he was going to be Down syndrome and he was going to be this and he was going to be that. And I thought, no, 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 I'm not having that. And so I literally, from word go, started working on when I was pregnant with Henry. And I'm glad to say he's 23, he's fighting fit. But he was born with gross kidney reflux, meningitis, E. coli, septicemia. So not Down syndrome as he was predicted. And I was very lucky at that point, because I'd been doing I'd switched up the game and started doing allergy testing. I then started to look to see what it was in Henry that was making all these things happen. And then that's when I started playing around with the health thing, with the kidneys and and if you're carrying energies, could it affect them? And that's what started me off and drove me to do what I do today. And that was only because in the hospital, when we were in Addenbrooke's, and they were saying to me, take this little boy home, take him home, he's just whimpering. And I looked at his foot. As a reflexologist, I went, oh my God, he's got a kidney infection. I can tell by his foot. And my husband said, oh, for goodness sake, stop it. And I went, humor me, just humor me. So he did a lumbar punch, and that's when they found out he had E. coli, septicemia, meningitis, and all the rest of it. So if I'd have gone home, he'd have died. So I then thought, oh my God, I've got to take this seriously now.
Yeah,
And so that's when I did. I started taking things very seriously. And because I'd already got myself pregnant when I was told I couldn't, because my hormones were just not, they just weren't, they were just missing all the time. So I then went into fertility, and then from there I thought, well, it's not just fertility. Let's look at other things. When I started off, my history for me was I was under the top bowel specialist in England as from a child. I'd swallowed a threepenny bit when I was 5 years old, and that left me with a plethora. I had a twisted colon. I had hiatus hernia, duodenal ulcer, diverticulitis. I had all these things, and now I don't have any of them. And it's all just been done energetically. So it's not even been taking loads and loads of pills.
Yeah.
And, you know, as I keep plugging the book, thanks to the man behind the book, Dr. Bradley Nelson, you know, because it's just literally changed my life.
Wow, that is amazing. That is such an amazing story as well. Thank you so much for sharing, Beth. So, I mean, just to wrap things up then, I mean, have you got anything that you'd like to share with our viewers today? And more importantly, how can they find out more about you? You mentioned a YouTube channel. I'm guessing you've got a website.
Yeah. So the website is www.balancingemotions.co.uk. I do subscription groups on a weekly basis for people trying to overcome things, whether it's motivation, whether it's you know, anxiety, whether it's weight issues. I've got people in recovery from serious illnesses, and they can contact me if they want to join the subscription group. The subscription group, basically what that does is it offers you have an app on your phone that sends you frequencies, and those frequencies go through to your body, and they help your well-being. So that's another side of the thing. Yeah, you can contact me, as I said, through the website, and look at my YouTube channel. There'll be a lot more coming because I'm doing a lot of experiments, and I will be doing a lot more teaching in this coming year. So yeah, that's it. That's all I can say.
Fantastic. That is absolutely amazing. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you today, Beth. Thank you so much. And to our viewers out there today, go and find out some more. Beth's just giving you the details. That's it for this week's episode of the Business Spotlight. Thanks again, Beth.
Thank you, Mark, for your interview. Thank you.